Thank you everyone for joining us for the Future Founders Summit session with Drew and Alex from the Chainsmokers. Thank you guys for joining us.
Of course, anything for you guys.
Great. We appreciate it. We're really excited to talk to you because, you're obviously very well known for the work that you've done in the music industry, but you guys have embarked on another journey and another career in the tech world, and I'm sure it extends even beyond that. So I think what we're excited to learn from you guys today is when you guys were just starting your careers, what were your dreams? What were your ambitions? And tell us a little bit about those journeys.
Sure. How early do you want me to go?
As early as you want.
I'd probably say, when I was about 13 or 14, I was always looking for ways to start businesses. I grew up in a small town of Maine, and I grew up in an outlet town, and I'd find like little ways to like make money here and there, just like doing chores or random jobs for people. And eventually I ended up like starting a tiny eBay business where I would go to Timberland, which is like an outlet Timberland store, and I'd find these coupons and buy these boots at, for like $70, and then I'd sell them to China for like $200. So I was always looking for like little like side hustles as a kid, and I always was interested in starting a business, but I knew definitely nothing about the tech world. There were some local entrepreneurs that I looked up to, and I knew that I wanted to be my own boss, and was never very good at working for other people. That was something that continued when I ended up going to college. I wanted to go to school for business, but my mom was actually like, you're too passionate about music. This is the opposite of what most parents, tell their kids. They want them to go to a more practical education route. But she found this like music business program at Syracuse that I went to, and even while I was there, I was like that, trying to start like little side hustles, put on concerts, promote like club nights, or I tried to build this like tech platform that I probably shouldn't mention because it was such a failure, but that was kind of like, I kind of always had this entrepreneurial mindset. And I think, at the same time, I was trying to start all these businesses. I was going to classes. I was learning about the music industry. But my real passion that I was trying to kind of suppress was music. When I was 17, I did an abroad year in Argentina. And that exposed me to dance music when everyone was, all my friends in the US were just listening to hip hop. And, when I heard, the Daft Punk and the beginning of David Guetta and Trent Muller and all these artists, I was like, I have to learn how to make that stuff. And that brought me to this program called Ableton Live. And, I spent all of every like moment I had from 17 to basically today, futzing around in Ableton and trying to get better and trying to figure out how to make these sounds. And that was the first time, I'd played drums my whole life. That was the first time that I could make everything. I could make the drums, I could record the drums, I could record guitars, I could sing on it, I could make all these synth plugins that I had never heard before I could use. And so that was something that was like my fascination, which I feel like a lot of like engineers probably have that with coding. Once you realize you can build something all yourself, it gets really exciting, and you want to learn it to the best of your ability. And so I had that going on, but I was also practical, and I didn't come from a family with much money, but so that was a priority, and I went to a really expensive school that I could not afford. And so those are kind of my two things growing up. And then when Alex and I met and we started the Chainsmokers, I had been producing songs, and Alex had been a DJ in New York City for a long time and had all these shows, which, provided some income. And, we literally met one night, and the next day started Chainsmokers and spent 10 hours a day in, Alex's one bedroom apartment, just trying to make something that was relevant. And I think one of the reasons that we've been, become successful, and also why we're such great friends and have become better friends as time's gone by, is like our willingness to work and our desire to expand into other opportunities. We're super curious people, and we realized that once we were doing well at music, which there's a whole story there about how that started, but maybe that's not for now.
Feel free to dig into that. We're curious about sort of that chapter of your journey as well.
Sure. I mean, Alex, you can take that part, like when we started when we met and, how we started, how we approached the music business, I guess.
Oh, sure. Okay, I can jump in. So yeah, so that was probably 10 years ago at this point. And like Drew said, we were just kind of getting together literally every day at like 10 a.m. To like 8 p.m. Kind of just at the time, I felt like we were kind of just kind of copying the people that like inspired us and we liked a lot, like the Calvin Harris's and Zeds and Avicii's, who were just the gods to us at that time. But we knew that we needed to find like what our own sound was. I don't think we'd ever done that before, so it was kind of like, okay, that we know this is what we need to achieve, but how do we get there? And we kind of just felt like if we just kept banging our head against the wall enough times, maybe something would fall out. And we kind of got lucky at a certain point because we recognized that we were nobodies in this space. So like, how do you start to gain some exposure and popularity in a, kind of crowded, crowded genre? And one thing we recognized was the remixes was like a really interesting idea because basically we could take a song, any song, and reimagine it in, any way that we wanted. And we kind of attach ourselves to whoever that artist is. So their fan base, while they have no idea who we are, might see this song and say, oh, I love this artist, is my favorite artist. Let me see, like, let me check out who these guys are and how they reimagined my favorite song. And we kind of hit gold because I remember Drew was a big Yonsei fan. And there was this song Around Us that was like kind of a stripped back song with no drums and not a lot of instrumentation. And it allowed us to kind of add our layers to it without needing him or anyone for that matter to give us, stems or permission. And so Drew and, I remixed this song and, it was terrific. And we were like, wow, this sounds really good. This is really cool. So we're like, all right, well, now what? I guess we'll just like throw it up on SoundCloud and hope that people find it. But at the time, we were both like pretty big Hype Machine listeners, which is like a blog aggregator where you discovered a lot of your music. And we kind of studied it, both of us, for a couple of weeks. And we're like, okay, so this site is pulling from different internet blogs all over the internet. And we just need to, I guess, get in touch with these different blogs and somehow get them to post our music. And then we could hopefully get onto this Hype Machine chart, and that will get us, promotion and like more plays and exposure. So, while basically, Drew was finishing the song, I went in and kind of copied every single writer that had ever written for a music blog on almost every site that I could find. And the list, continued to grow for months and months. But initially it was probably, 200 or 300 names. And we focused on like dance music sites, people that liked Gionci. We've looked up sites that reposted his stuff. And then, we kind of both like, we had enough exposure to the music business that we knew there was kind of like a cliche, approach to promotion, which was like the label would be like, for immediate press release only, Alesso, the hottest DJ on Europe, drops his like explosive song, so-and-so. And it was just like, and there's nothing wrong with that. And Alesso's amazing, but like the way they were going about it was like very generic. And we were like, okay, so how do we cut through that, that bullshit and make our email stand out? And we're assuming these people are getting, 50 to 100 emails a day asking for them to post music. So we kind of took the piss and wrote these like emails that were just really like tongue in cheek. And like, no matter whether you knew us or not, like they kind of would grab your attention. And that was like the purpose. It was like, we just got to get their attention because we know the music was good. And it worked. And like slowly but surely, we began to amass this following of different blogs and build these relationships. Because once they responded to us, I would keep, notes about like where they lived, where they went to school, anything we talked about. And it became like a one-to-one relationship instead of just this artist they were posting that they've never met or talked to before. So now they had like a vested interest in our success because they kind of helped discover us on some level. So, every week, basically, we would identify a song or on Hype Machine that we thought was like interesting and kind of like underserved and would give like a dance music spin on it. And we would generally look for like indie songs because we felt like dance music was kind of this like cheesy European feeling at the time. And we were like, well, what if we like take this American approach, you know, with like great songwriting and just like add, you know, amazing production to it. And that's what we did. And we remixed songs from like Tublo Habits to like Daughter's Medicine to Two Door Cinema Club. And we probably did this for like a solid year, every week or every 2 weeks, probably. We would, you know, find a song, remix it. And then as we started to gain popularity, some of these artists we'd be like, hey, you know, we just kind of built up momentum. Hey, our last song that we remixed got, you know, 400,000 plays. We're just going to do this for you on spec. You don't have to pay us. If you hate it, we won't release it. And they were like, okay, sure. What's there to lose? And then slowly, like, we went up from, you know, 400,000 plays to 600,000 plays to 1 million plays, which at the time was like astronomical for us. And what we like recognize here is like we were kind of developing our own, like we were like growth hacking our own promotional platform basically, and developing like our own network of, you know, internet savants and critics that were there to support us. And then we were using like these tools that DJs were always really clever about, like the like to download. So like you can download this remix for free. You just had to like our Facebook page. And so we were like building our platforms out and our fan bases. And it was really exciting because like it finally felt like we had not only a sound in like electronic indie dance music that we had kind of like pioneered on some levels, but you know, we were like really building a fan base and starting to like expand shows out of New York, starting to play colleges around the country. And that was when I think we like kind of began. I mean, I definitely think we thought we were bigger than we were at the time, but on the same page, we were like really like building a cult following, which I think was like the key to us continuing to grow. And we had like lots of ups and downs along that process. But I think that's like what any good founder is trying to do. They're trying to build a product, you know, find a product market fit and then build this following that will go in any direction you kind of want them to go in and follow you there. And that was like a really exciting period for us.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, in addition to like, you know, building a fan base, we were also cutting our teeth in production and developing a sound that was ours. That's the hardest thing to do, I think, for any musician, any artist, but also any founder. It's like, what are you doing that's uniquely yours, that's better than anybody else? Like at least that one thing that you do. Obviously, that's product market fit, but also, you know, thinking about that from the beginning, like, you know, we had tried to, like Alex said, we were imitating all these people, and eventually we did this one remix, Stay by Anna the North, right?
Yeah.
And I remember it was Sway.
Okay.
How come I forgetting this? And it's called Sway, a Chainsmokers remix. And I remember when we made that song, I was like, this is going to be our sound. I have a feeling. And when you hear it, you hear like what, like if you guys are aware of our music, you hear like Roses and Closer and those vibes, that kind of like nostalgic, really kind of ethereal type of feeling. And you know, this whole process that Alex and I went through, like remixing for probably, you know, 2 or 3 years, eventually led to like the modern sound that everybody knows us for.
That's really exciting. And, you know, you've talked a little bit about how, you know, when you were just getting started, you were sort of calibrating on this ecosystem that you guys were trying to crack, and you were willing to try whatever it took to break into it. And you guys have achieved amazing success in that ecosystem. What made you guys sort of decide to, you know, go and embark and learn about a new industry, which you guys have? And were some of those skills that you had around, you know, just figuring out a way to break into a pretty competitive market, were those strategies and skills applicable to how you guys have approached venture and investing?
Yeah, I mean, when we met, you know, for that first time, like I think it was pretty clear that we were both very ambitious, and we were going to use whatever success and platform we created in music to branch out into other areas that interested us. I don't think we knew what those would be at the time. And I think, you know, as we, you know, had more success in music and began to understand like what we were doing well and what we weren't doing well, and the things that were important to us and the principles of what the Chainsmokers are about, which is like bringing people together basically, is the most important thing to us. You know, we began to think, it's like, well, let's only start businesses that are an extension of who we are and the things that are important to us and the things that we already are doing in our lives. And we kind of learned that from Jimmy Buffett, actually, when he talked to us about how he created Margaritaville, and he like created products for his fan base as they grew up and got older and moved on in life. So for us, you know, as we got it, we started a tequila company. It's like tequila's always been the center of all of our shows and like all of our great memories. And it was like, great, let's create an affordable tequila that doesn't sacrifice quality and continue to we'll create these experiences through this product, using our platform. And then when it comes to venture, you know, a big part of what we do is obviously entertainment performance, but really the side that people don't see is it's just hospitality, and it's building relationships and taking care of people. And, you know, we didn't know this going into venture at the time, at least to this degree, but venture is really just the same thing. It's all about relationships and taking care of people and being men of your word and like working hard at the end of the day. And like we always say, we know what we don't know, and that's a lot. But it's like learning from people that are much smarter than you, like you guys have been super helpful to us and other people in the space. And it doesn't feel like I'm like now a rocket scientist suddenly, you know, it feels like I'm learning about a lot of things that I didn't know about before, but it's really just about coming in with an open mind, wanting to just really work and understand what you're talking about and what you're investing in. And then it's just a function of like taking care of people and treating people well and being in the right circles. And I know that the VC people hate when I make these analogies, but it's like literally just like being in a club, which is where we spent like the first 10 years of our lives, or 20 years probably in my case. And you know, it's like you want to go in with the right people. You want to be sitting at the right table and be in the right round, you know, and you want, you know, and building a community from there. And, you know, being in the Chainsmokers, we built this business like any founder did. So we like understand that struggle they're going through and the excitement at the same time. And I constantly find parallels between the music business and everything else that we're involved in. And, you know, and I think just making sure that we're aware of those things and playing up to our strengths is, you know, how hopefully we'll continue to be able to be successful in this, you know, all of our different businesses.
Yeah, and I can fully attest to how hard you guys work for the founders you partner with, and that's really amazing to see. I want to pick up something you said there, Alex, around saying bringing people together, it's what's most important to us.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more about what does bringing people together mean to you guys, and why is it so important to you?
Yeah, I mean, via, you know, this crazy music career that we've had, we've gotten to just access this world that we never thought we would be able to. And now we've done that in a bunch of different types of worlds, like with venture and tech and music, and worlds in TV and film and the liquor business. And, you know, but I think at the core of it is music. And we've created this world that is just, it's something that very few people get to experience. And we get so much joy out of being able to pull people into this world. And I know you guys have been to some of our shows or some of like, you know, our events that we've thrown. And I think a lot of people, especially in tech, it was just funny because we just started Vegas up back again. We're in Vegas almost every weekend at the Wynn. And, you know, I think we thrive off of that. You know, we had this like our first party, and we threw this pre-party and an after party and host everybody at the show at our table. And, you know, at the pre-party, I remember like all of these founders that we had befriended with, you know, guys like you and the Brex guys and, you know, Howie from Airtable, and these kind of like founders that have really like killed it right now, are killing it right now. And like some like other VCs that we had befriended, and you kind of see them all be like, wait, you guys know these people, you know that, oh my God, like I've always wanted to meet that person. Oh, that's one of my homies. I didn't think I would know them here, anyone here. And that ecosystem of like all these different people from all walks of life. I mean, that was specifically tech, but you know, we are always pulling in people from music and entertainment, people from tech, some of our really good home friends that are just great people that make the party super fun. And we create this like really de-escalated, there's no pretentiousness. Like it's this everyone feels welcome and open, and that they can go and talk to anybody. And the vibe is just great. And that's like the type of ecosystem that we want to curate, whether it's with our fun, whether it's at our shows, whatever we do, that's like an extension of who we are.
And when you think of creating a place where people actually feel belonging and they feel comfort in interacting with each other, what do you think is most important?
I feel like acknowledging people, like I've always found that in my life, even in high school, like I wasn't, an unpopular kid, but I wasn't a super popular kid either. And I think like it's that's the difference. Like you can really make a difference in people's lives just by being nice and listening to them and helping them. And I feel like that's something I've just carried throughout, my whole life and into the Chainsmokers, where it's the little things like that can change a person's life. And that's why it's obviously so great to be a musician, because you get to see people like create their own narratives to your music and, uplift them or get them through tough times. And I think, if you can, make everyone in a room feel special. And there's like certain people we've met in our career that are like incredible at that. They can walk into a room with 40 people, but you feel like they're talking directly to you. And that's kind of a superpower to have. And I think in a world today where we're constantly overloaded with social media and news and, everything is just, it's never ending amount of information. Sometimes it's nice to slow that all down and just be able to like have that, enjoy the moment wherever you are with people you're with and kind of forget about all that stuff. And I think being able to, bring people, whether it's an after party or an actual concert or a Zoom call, it makes a big difference when you feel like you have someone's undivided attention or they're listening to you. And it goes both ways. And I think we thrive off that energy as well. And I think that's why, that's kind of like what you were saying. It's like connecting people from different places and worlds. And that's kind of like I think our superpower is just putting people together. And whether you're, a A&R at a label or, a unicorn founder, and it's like, you find yourself just having a great time. And I think that's kind of what we're all about.
So we talked about how you guys were able to come to the place you're in music, and now you're adding all these different areas where you can keep bringing people together. But when on a personal level, when you think about your lives, what are your biggest, wildest, craziest, most ambitious dreams?
I think, right now, it's really hard to think, 10 or 20 years in the future. There's no like big goal. It's more of like, I think we're guys that just think about the next step a lot. And I think like musically, we've been very fortunate to have some really big, just global songs. And I think right now, kind of what we focused, we've taken like the past 2 years off from putting out music, which is the first time ever in our career. And I think as we're refocusing and getting ready to go back out, we're more interested in like, I hope this doesn't get taken out of context, but like starting a cult than having like a bit, like just massive songs all the time. And what I mean by that is like, I think like we really discovered exactly what we do the best. And we're like, I don't think we had the we were maybe a little too insecure to just like lean into that one thing and be like, this is what we do really well. And I'm talking to a lot of, founders about this. I remember when we met Brian Chesky for the first time, he was like designing an airplane, and like last time I spoke to him or when I spoke to him in the beginning of COVID, he was like, I'm just focusing exactly on what my core thing is. I'm not trying to do all of this stuff. I'm trying to make sure my core product is as good as it can be and as big as it can be. And I think that's where we're at right now. I think we went through a phase of, trying to prove to everybody that, we can do more than just like dance, EDM, whatever. But within that, we had found something really special that only we did. And I think we're leaning back into that. And I want to build a community around, a fan base around like that one thing that's like very personalized. And I care less about how big it is and more about how genuine it is and how free that Alex and I feel to make exactly what we want to make. And not trying to like fit into the mold of either what's cool or, prove to somebody about what we can do. There's been so many amazing, Tyler, the Creator, is dropping right now. And he's been so just meticulously like himself and detailed in like all of the different art surrounding all of his music. And, I think we haven't done the best job at really leaning into all that stuff. But I think that's like it's the most sustainable thing we can build for ourselves going on in the future. And then when it comes to venture, I think, you know, the people that we know, including yourselves, you know, we had to start a VC fund and spend 10 hours a day speaking to founders and other venture capitalists and other people just like in related businesses to get to learn the space and see what's going on and figure out where we fit the best in. And I think that we've developed a really good sweet spot for ourselves with, you know, Mantis Fund 1 and 2. And I think, I mean, me personally, you know, I would like to go earlier and help incubate companies. I think that, you know, I'm glad that we're meeting tons and tons of founders all the time. You know, and we're able to grow with a lot of them and watch how they build their businesses. And, you know, personally, I feel more of a connection to people in tech than I do into music, just because of like the ambition and the things that you have, like how oriented you have to be and how you have to build a team. And there's so many multifaceted things instead of a lot of artists are just, I just want to make my music and hope that it works. You know, I mean, maybe some people building products are like that too, but you know, I think like, you know, we're learning the types of people that we want to help build businesses with. And I think helping incubate ideas, and, you know, finding in what areas we're really effective about helping, I think is something that we're developing now and will only continue to grow. And, I know you guys do a really great job at that. And that's something that I would like to see where I'd like to see Mantis go in the future.
Amazing. Drew, thank you very much for sharing. And the value of actually being able to be truly genuine and focus on what you really care about, what you're good at, is so freeing, as you mentioned.
Totally.
Alex, how do you think about that question for you? Is the answer exactly the same, or is there something more in terms of what's that big dream for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I agree with Drew entirely. Like for us, success is measured in like progress. We don't like set milestones in the same way. I think you'll talk to a lot of founders, and I think it's similar with like raising your Series A or B or C. You know, you work so hard to get there, and then you're there, and then you're suddenly like, well, now the next thing has just begun. And, you know, that is progress as well. But I think you can measure it in smaller amounts. And I think that you'll find you'll have more happiness and success as well. Because that's what we did in, you know, all throughout our career. It was like we just wanted a couple more plays on each song, a couple more fans. And then suddenly next thing you look back and you've, you know, amassed this amazing following and business. But I think like bigger picture, you know, for me, like I have already more stuff than I ever would have thought I imagined. And I'm, you know, and I'm not like, there's no, you know, I don't care about some of the things that a lot of musicians care about, like flashy cars and private jets. Like, sure, if I could afford that stuff and make my life easier, like I'm all about it. But it's all just a function of like doing the things I want to do and being happy. You know, I try to like find my happiness in little things, like having a great girlfriend and having an awesome dog. And, you know, when we want to go take time to enjoy ourselves, being able to do that. But again, it's like, I think we get our most happiness in creating like communities and having great times, you know, and being great hosts. And so like when we get to go on tour and put on awesome shows, like there's no better feeling on the planet than that. And like, so on some levels, I feel like we've already arrived, but like, I know just how we're wired. I feel like we always feel like we're the underdogs, and we always feel like we have a chip on our shoulder, something to prove to ourselves or to the world. And that will always continually push us forward. And that's why I admire people like, you know, Elon Musk, who's like got more money than anyone on planet Earth, but you don't see him, you constantly see him pushing forward and challenging himself. And, you know, and like I saw his house that he was living in like Texas. It was like a 800 square foot apartment or something that he was staying in, you know. And it's like, I think those things are important because you know, you don't want to get lost in the sauce. And it's just like life is too short, you know, and so for that reason, it's just like, just enjoy what you're doing. And that's the most important thing. And I think like I used to have terrible jobs. I've worked in pet stores as a tree man, as an auto parts supplier, as all sorts of shitty things. And it's like, now I finally get to do something I love and enjoy every day. And so it doesn't ever feel like a burden to wake up and have to get on a call or read a business plan or whatever, because I truly enjoy it. And I think that's, to me, is like, as long as I can continue to do that and a successful way and meet great people along the way, that just brings me so much fulfillment.
That's fantastic. I think, one of the things that we've seen as being sort of a recurring theme among some of the people that we really admire, you guys included, Enrique as well, from Brex, is this notion of, success is not a destination, it's a direction and a slope. Mm-hmm. And, that's somewhat counterintuitive, right? Because a lot of people, when they're starting in their careers, a lot of the people who are here at Future Founder Summit, they think, okay, well, I want to get to this point to be successful. I want to accomplish X, Y, or Z, and then I'll be happy. Yeah. What advice do you have for people as they're embarking on these journeys to be able to frame things in a way that they can obviously fuel their ambition, just as you guys have, but still have the ability to, appreciate that journey in the moment as well?
I think, well, it's interesting. Like, I was talking to someone the other day about like their role as a VC. And in the early days, they're like, it's basically just to make sure like my founders are like eating and sleeping while they like work tirelessly. But then like they start to become successful and like their lives actually become incredibly stressful, because it's like the same thing, you hit unicorn status, like amazing. You did something that not a lot of people in the world could do, but now you're responsible for 400 employees. You have board members, you have shareholders, you have a lot of people counting on you to do well. And we feel that same stress. We employ like probably close to 25 or 30 people, and I think like as you like set your targets, because I remember being in college and having like crippling anxiety about how would I ever even find a girlfriend if I can't even like take her on a date to feed her, or like I won't even have a place to live in 2 years at this rate. And, and those are scary thoughts, but it's like, they just kind of work themselves out if you're committed to something. And I think that's the most important thing. It's like, I actually like don't agree with this. I read this article, interview with Mark Andreessen. He like encouraged people not to follow their passion and to like instead identify areas in the world that look like they need development or like are heading in that direction, like AI or ML or, the virtual, world. And, I understand, I think what he's saying in regards to like, there's a lot of opportunity, like if I have a kid, like teaching him how to program and be an engineer is probably a good idea, because I could probably fill the role. If I had you guys know this better than anybody, there's a lot of engineers and people like that needed in the startup world, and even, further down the line of big companies. But I think like, if you're not enjoying what you're doing and working towards something that's important to you, then you're inevitably going to be unhappy. And I think like, I appreciate people like Enrique and Pedro, because they always make sure they find the time to do things that are fun and important to them, whether it's kite surfing or going on a vacation with their girlfriends. And I think that it's easy to lose sight of that and fall into like, we've been victims of this too, like just going nonstop for 8 years and never taking time to like sit back and enjoy some of the things you do. And you begin to like wire your brain differently. Like, I'm a full-blown workaholic. There is like no doubt about it. All I do is work, basically. But like, in meeting you guys and other founders, they're like, hey, be careful about taking like founders out to like Vegas and partying, because like you'll get a bad reputation for, poisoning the well or something. And I'm like, and it's like, no, there's a balance to this. You have to like, that's an old school thought process. Like, I think like, if you're going to do the work and you want to do the work, nothing's going to stop you from doing that. But like, you also need to understand that like, if you don't know what relaxing is, then you'll never know what working too much is. So you just have to find that middle ground where you get to do both of those things that you love. And lucky for us, like I love to go out and be social. That's a function of our job. So like, it works both ways. But I think people just, don't be so hard on yourselves, and just, and find people around you that will support you. And I think that's like, finding a good partner. And I know some people are just solo founders, but I think even if you're a solo founder, like finding a team around you that will be honest with you, but also push you to be a better person. Those are the sort of things that I think are really important. And then be able to like enjoy those good moments together and those little victories. Because that to me would be the saddest thing, is like building, your castle by yourself. And then you wake up and you're just sitting you're sitting all alone in this giant, castle. And that to me is sad. So building those friendships and those relationships through programs like this, leaning on other founders, even if they're like in a different space, you know, sharing stories about each other and what you're going through and being helpful. I think that's like the cool part. And that's like something that like Drew and I didn't get a lot of when we were coming up. Like no one really kind of co-signed us in our career. And for that reason, we were really lucky to have this team of people around us that kind of said like, fuck everybody else. Like we're doing our thing and let's just keep doing what we're doing. And everyone will take notice eventually. And that's what happened.
Drew, any additional thoughts on that?
I got lost in Alex's answer. What was the original question?
The original question was what advice do you have for people that are, you know, embarking on these pretty ambitious journeys? Basically, the summary is, how do you not get lost in the sauce?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning, it's like there's a couple ways to take this. Like, one, you really got to think hard about like why you're doing what you're doing. That's the most important thing. And really, because there's a lot of really smart, talented kids that are probably going to watch this video that are capable of doing a ton of different things. And I've met founders and had the thought, you are brilliant and I want to invest in you, but this idea is almost beneath you, or it's just not right for you. It's not the right, and you can make it work and happen. But you know, if you're playing the long game and thinking what your life's going to look like, you're not going to be happy, you know, doing this, I don't think. And so, you know, I when I think about it on the music side, it's like, you know, there's been times in our careers where the music that we're making is so, you know, intrinsically us and what I want it to be. And that when you put out that stuff and it works, you're excited to tour it, you're excited to promote it, you're excited to show up to work every day, you're excited to write again, your self-confidence is better, like all these amazing qualities that like, the way that everyone wants to feel in life. And then there's every now and then that you'll make a song because like you don't have a lot of time or you're not inspired and you feel pressure to put something out, and then you put out something that you're not proud of and you still have to tour it and you still have to promote it and you have to, and all those things, and you have this like hangover, like unmotivated feeling that's not, you know, unfortunately doesn't build into a really productive mindset. And so, you know, I just like encourage other people, and I, you know, always have to remind myself to be really mindful about like, is this what the product I want to put forward? Is this the deal I want to do? Or these are the partners that I want to pick? Because you have to, like, you know, in the beginning, you just want to get stuff started and you're ambitious and you're anxious to get something going. And, you know, just thinking of the long game, I think is a really important quality that, you know, helps a decision-making process that, you know, evolves into just overall happiness.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for your frameworks, for your advice, and for being here and sharing your thoughts with everyone. And, you know, we're really grateful to be partners with you guys. And I'm sure everyone here is, you know, really appreciated everything that you shared.
Awesome.
Of course. Thanks for having us, fellas.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.